Only how we control the border, say.
Music when it hits you, you feel no pain. And that's the dance all rap.
Lord of mercy.
Dance all rap, big features rap. Dance all rap, grandma and papa. Don't stop rap, no. Indiana wants me, and I'm gonna be there.
Yes, man.
New York City's calling, and I'm gonna be there. And the city wants me, and I've got to be there. Spreading the vibes all over the world.
Lord of mercy, I could have tried and chop on Northern Africa. Tell them again music cool all over. Rule everything, is rule every corner. Barrington leaving, you a danger. Who wants cut the rock and mash it in a culture? No slackness, DJ can't enter. One of them coming to grab the order. Two of them coming get run over. Three of them coming running from Mountain.
Street Jamaica wants me, and I'm gonna be there. In Paris they call it, and I'm gonna be there. Down in France they want me, and I'm gonna be there. Spreading my vibes all over the world. Oh yeah, I don't say.
Now me say who ragamuffin, say ragamuffin, me killer muffin. Say ragamuffin, who ragamuffin, dance ragamuffin, like east and west, I put a north or south. If a boy try a thing, we go knock it out. Me say parent and leave it a rough next out. When they fling down the gutter, me no have no doubt.
So, one good thing about that so music when it hits you, you feel no pain. One good thing about that so music when it touches you, feel no pain. And that's a dance song rock and you can't stop that. Dance song rock, it shows that.
Listen,
Dance song rock.
I could listen to this tune. Listen, you know I know this song inside out and back to front. I can mash up the lyrics.
Listen, don't come for me with Barrington Levy, because that is me and him are brethren like this.
That's what
Scene.
Under my sense.
I'm broad.
Oh my
I'm
God.
broad.
So,
I'm broader than Broadway.
Like, oh my God, these two are crazy. Oh look what Tish said. Hello, right, listen.
yes, Tish.
Yes.
Oh,
Listen, I've got some tunes now. I've got some tunes today. I have got some tunes.
Oh,
Right. We are supposed to be talking about ethnicity pay gap, which we will talk. But we've got some real talk to hit people with this afternoon, because one, it's Friday.
Right.
Right. Two, we've got to be true to form, which means we promise to take people on the journey with us in terms of what we're doing, what we're talking about, why we're talking about it, why we are showing up as ourselves without censoring, without, we can play our music. Well, we can play whatever music we want. It's not about our music. We can play whatever music we want, whatever we feel. But clearly, not everybody's feeling the vibe. So, Abby, I'm going to let you kick off before we get into it. I feel like we've got things to say.
Yeah, we came together. Well, it was supposed to be a one-off, and through the love and just the amazing, wonderful vibes that people were sending to Shereen, Leanne, and hi Cassandra, and I, that we decided to do this every Friday. Now, one of the reasons why, as three very different Black women, we decided to do this was because of all the injustice, the discrimination, the downright nonsense, the racism, the prejudice. I could keep going on and on and on that we've all seen in our careers. Now, we've all had to wear a mask that wasn't ours to wear. We've all had to carry burdens that wasn't ours to carry. And we've all had to, not bring our authentic selves to work because people weren't ready for it. And we thought, during, of course, guess what happened with George Floyd happened, and COVID happened, and the world is now waking up to something that we've all been obviously awake to, but everything's changed this time round. Now, through our authenticity, through living our truths, doing this on a Friday, and not just on a Friday, but just the videos that Shereen does during the week, the articles that I write, you know, the publications that we share. We're talking about our truths. But it seems that some people, they've got a problem with that. Now, now my stance on this, and Shereen and Leanne will come in with this. My stance on this is, if you are triggered, or if you are caught up in yourself because of some of the things that we say, or you read our articles, or you watch our videos during the week, then you need to ask yourself why, because you have the problem. Because not what the things that we're talking about, yes, we talk about race and we talk about prejudice, as I said, and discrimination, but we're talking about it from looking at it from a black lens. You know, we have not centered, we've centered black women, of course, obviously, because we're 3 black women, but we've centered black women and black people, black folks, as the narrative that we are talking about. You know, that's the tree, and the different branches come from the tree. Now, you know, remember when I talked about dominant power last week? I was talking about dominant power, and white people are the dominant power. They are the dominant culture. And when you are the dominant culture, it means that you are so used to people putting you at the center of everything that when you are excluded, you don't know how to take it. Now, you know, not a lot, but I've had some feedback from some people that, you know, certain senior white HR.
No, not senior. CEO. Chief.
C-suite,
right.
darling.
Okay.
C-suite.
Yeah.
Leadership, decision makers, power holders,
There you
people
go.
who impact the future. C-suite.
The C-suite leaders who have come onto my page. They've come onto my page. I'm going to be very honest. They've come onto my page. They've gone onto Shereen's page. They've gone onto Leanne's page, and they are feeling like a Scotch bonnet. They're hot under the collar right now because their dry biscuit selves, as Shereen would say, their dry biscuit selves are being held to account because they know that the things that we're talking about, they're feeling the heat because they know that they are perpetuating those bad behaviors that we are calling out in the workplace. The discrimination, the prejudice, overlooking black people for promotions, overlooking people of color for, you know, we're going to be talking about pay later, but they know they're perpetuating all of those things. Ultimately, they want us 3 to be seen and not heard.
Right.
And that's that. And I said that, you know, actually they want us to continue being silenced. The fact that we're all speaking up now and living our truth has got people rough. It's got people scared. But it's time to get scared, and it's time to get uncomfortable.
Right. And I was going to say, to your point, Abby, it's not just the fact that we're calling it out. It's the fact that it's resonating with our audience. It's the fact that everything that we say, there are so many wonderful people who are listening to us and have said, yeah, I've had that. I've had that. So it's not anymore the case of there's one black person in the office, in the corner that you can gaslight and say, well, that was a figment of your imagination. Now there are so many people who are verifying these very same experiences that we're talking about. Even, you know, everyone here is listening, gone, yeah, that was me. I remember when such and such did that. I remember such and such did that. And it makes them uncomfortable because they can't isolate us anymore to say, no. This didn't really happen. Because here, all these comments are all the receipts.
And also, I think the other thing that I just want to say before we get into ethnicity pay gap, because I think it's important that we talk about this, because this is what happens when, as Black people, we step out of a lane that we did not create. This is what happens when all of a sudden, like, the freedom that we have, and the thing that I find the most beautiful out of all of this is that it's not even just because we are centering Black people, but we're also centering people who fundamentally do not agree with the way society is wired. So if you take the Black piece out of it, anybody who is speaking up about what's not right, whether it's from behaviours within corporate organisations, whether it's about how people are treated because of who they love, because of their gender that they identify with, because of how they choose to wear their hair, because of their faith, because of their community that they're part with. Like, we're giving lots and lots of people a voice, even those people who may not be Black or may not, like, they might not 110% understand what vibe we're on, but they can certainly understand what it is to not feel like you can be yourselves. And I genuinely think the piece about Black people doing it is because we have bought into the narrative for years that we should not stick together because we've only got to look after ourselves. And so we are easy to control when we're divided. people are easy to control when they are divided. And I don't mean like some people are like, oh my God, it's like conspiracy theory. No, I'm just saying.
No, but that's the fact though.
The fact is because it's conditioning behavior, so you don't press up against what isn't right, and you don't push past your discomfort, because to get through the discomfort means you've got to put your head above the parapet. And I think, you know, and I just want people to, the reason why we're sharing this story, because, you know, we have to get it off our chest, right? But also, the more that you step outside the safe zone that people have created for you, is the harder they will push to get you back in it.
Exactly.
They understand the way you are when you're in that zone. They don't understand it. They don't understand how we can play dancehall music on LinkedIn on a live stream. They don't understand how you can write about being paid. They don't understand how Leanne can talk about some of the things that she's talking about in the articles about art and about architecture. And that
because
aspect,
Shereen,
they don't understand
but also about art and architecture, is because that world wasn't made for us. That's how they see it. And it's really important to again, I am going to use this phrase because it's true, that we have people, you know, we've got feathers ruffled because we're not playing good house Negro. We're not doing that. You know, we've got 3 outspoken, not just us, but obviously I'm using us in this context. We've got 3 outspoken Black women here who people are like, oh my God, they wouldn't be able to say this 10 years ago. Oh my God, they would not have been able to say this 10 years ago. Oh my God, who do these 3 Black women think they are? You know, how dare they grow a backbone? How dare they not walk on eggshells around us? We're not doing that anymore.
Listen, and let me just show, thank you, Tamslyn. I just want to share this. Authenticity is privilege, absolutely. And do you know what I hope with every single thing that we do? Sorry, Abby, I'm completely covering your face, but you know, like this. Sorry, Abby.
My hand, my fingers.
I was like, hold on. But do you know what? Tamslyn makes a good point in that, you know, it is a privilege, and actually we have to give ourselves the power to be able to show up as authentic, rather than feeling like we have to wait for permission, because we can see that there are some people, not everybody, you know, and I always make this point clear, like not all the CEOs that we talk to are not this one particular woman. They're not. You know, there's lots of great people that are talking and who are committed to doing something, but we have to, as the majority of individuals who want to make the change with ourselves first.
Exactly.
Yeah. And just to say,
or at some point become comfortable. Do you know what I mean? That will become the new normal.
Right. I was just going to say, to your point, Abby, with regards to art and architecture, the point is, it's been coated so much in privilege, and you know, you have to study whatever, when all of this boils down to a lot of systems and things that Black people created. They don't want us to understand that either. So it's, you know, let's talk about the brush technique. Why does that matter? It's about a feeling, but they don't want us to understand that. And that's how they push us away into believing that we don't belong in these places, where the truth of the matter is we belong in these spaces. We created a lot of these spaces, and we'll be damned if we don't get back into them. And as you said before, we're not going to wait for our seat. We're going to either push up on the table or we're going to build our own. Simple.
Right. So let me so we can get into ethnicity pay gap. So I just want to set the tone for this one, right? So we can, you know, like.
I saw you falling. I saw
Leanne's still 2 seconds behind.
I'm in Germany, people.
But you were the only cause so alive. And now, dreaming that you never went. Now I build up my independence. Every time you come my way, I know just what to say. Can we talk?
Let me just take my inhaler.
I started to write you a letter.
I wanted to be much better. I wanted
to sweet
Talk
talk
to you, but just like a baby, I could not talk.
walk. I tried.
Okay, so I just muted those two because like they're taking it like that one step too far, and both of them sound like cats howling. So let's get. We're going to get back to ethnicity pay gap. Right, we're going to talk about this. So I titled it, "Why is it in 2020 we still can't get paid?" Right. So there's an element of. We've talked about this before in previous weeks about the expectation that as Black people and brown people, because we're talking about ethnicity, so we're going to talk about Black and brown, but there's some particular elements that are specific for Black people, so we'll make that clear. But Black and brown people, but bearing in mind as Black people, we are the bottom of the barrel, right? And we still are fighting to get equal pay to do when we're doing the same jobs as everybody else, but we can't get paid. And then there is also an expectation, not only can we not get paid, so imagine that, like I talked about the gap, £3.2 billion. As Black people, there is a pay gap of £3.2 billion in connection to our white counterparts. That's not like a couple of £1,000. That's not chump change, right? So, and not only are we not paid parity, so there's no parity, but the other thing is because we are expected to work twice, 3 times as hard and be grateful for it, when there is extra work to be done, we are lumbered with that extra work, which means we are going even further backwards, and we're never in an opportunity to catch up. And then when we do speak up and go, do you know what, we need, like, something needs to be fixed here, we're given all the talk that God sends and nothing still changes. So that's like my starting point with this. Why is it in 2020 we're still here? Why is it that companies are still unwilling to do the ethnicity pay gap that they did for gender pay, albeit they were forced to because the government made it legislation? Let's just be clear, because nobody
because they wouldn't have done anything besides.
Right, so I'm not even saying that, you know, this is not one of those that go, oh, but for women. No, I'm well aware companies were forced to do it, like I know that. But even though knowing that this is a tool to at least address some parity, because there have been some improvements with the gender pay gap, why are we still here having to have this conversation? And I don't know if any of you guys are connected with Diane Grayson, but she has been campaigning for ethnicity pay gap for years. And, you know, there's T-shirts, there's this, but companies are still like not wanting to do that. So what is that about? And then what can we do? Like, what's the tea? What is the tea? Oh, Abby.
I know, she's given so much, you don't even know where to start, do you?
I really do. You know, you guys know me. You know me, I'm dramatic every week.
Abby.
You, dramatic.
You know, I have to hold my head before I start talking about anything. The reason why, yes, number one, yes, you're right. It's because they, you know, the government had held a gun to organizations' head saying you need to drop knowledge on the gender pay gap. Otherwise, that would never have happened. The reason why everyone's dragging their feet in regards to the ethnicity pay gap is because we already know what it's going to look like. We already know what it's going to look like. I was doing a role. We have examples of our lived experiences with every single one, every topic every week, because these are the things that we live with. I was doing a role that someone else is getting paid 50 grand more to do.
What?
Excuse me.
Pardon?
When I
hold on. 50 or 15?
50.
No.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Mm.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. And you know, I'm trying to think of how to say this without making the employer, like, without baiting them out. But it was I was you know, I was told that basically as a recruiter, and I'm a tech recruiter. So tech recruiters, you know, it's a pretty lucrative industry. I hired, I've hired MDs and CEOs into their positions. And I was told by a C-suite member of an organization I worked for, when I was supposed to go and hire for our American team, the person I hired into the business, they flew that person out instead. And then I was told, oh, it's because, you know, Abby, you won't be able to get them over the gap. And I was like, oh, but I hired 70% of your workforce, you know. And it was because I was a white woman. I hired a white woman. And to be fair, it wasn't her fault. I mean, she came in to do a job. It's not her fault. But all of a sudden, everything that I had done was erased in an instant when they saw that a white woman had come in. And I'm thinking, well, this white woman wouldn't be in here if not for me. So obviously that shows that I'm a very good recruiter, because look how well I have recruited into the role. Look at the longevity. Look at what we're getting out of, you know, look at the attrition levels, you know, look at what we're getting out of our workforce. But she was getting paid 50 grand more than me. And that's the kind of things that that's the kind of parity. That's the gap that we're looking at, you know, that I can do a job, leave a job, and then my replacement who's white will get paid that kind of money that I wasn't good for.
Right. And Abby, I just want to say on one thing on that as well. The other dynamic, because I've got that story, the pay gap wasn't as much, it was 30 grand. So I left one role, they hired somebody else with less experience than me, less experience of managing the team that the size. In terms of, I had more qualifications. And funny enough, I was talking to my partner about this, and I said, do you know what? From the time I was 15 years old, so when I started my working career at 14, because, you know, I lied about my age to get a job, but I started my career at 15 years old. I know you wouldn't imagine that I did that. Yeah. What year were you born? Back in the days before right to work and all of that stuff. But I started my career at 15 years old, right, with 2 more GCSEs than everybody in the place, because I did 2 GCSEs a year early at the adult college up the road that my head teacher told me I could not do. And my mum said, well, she wants to do it, she's going to do it. So can you imagine, 15 years old, right? If you're starting this late, back in the days when it was GCSEs, imagine now, I'm more qualified than every other 16-year-old. Imagine when you go and add in 4 A levels. Imagine when you go and add in 1 degree. Imagine when you go and add in 2 degrees, right? And you've got the work experience, and you've got the seniority, you've got the gravitas, you've got the traits, all of the things that we're used to when you're recruiting, all the things that roll off the tongue. And then you're not good enough, but they bring in somebody else who has half the experience as you for all the different things. They pay them more money, but here's the cry. They also give that person more resources. So they're saying that you were not good enough here. And all of a sudden, you then see that same person with the same size team, with the same size workload. They can't cope, and they've got 2 more resources. And you're thinking, what the fuck?
But let's go back for 2 seconds and say, think about it like this. When we go into any situation, the fact of the matter is, I know people who have, look, we all know how a lot of the time it works when you get senior jobs. It's not an advertised job. It's someone that knows that someone who knows someone. And I've been in that same position. I've been referred for a job, and the interview was massively informal. I didn't even apply. I sent my CV afterwards, pro forma, fine. But the point is, when you're a Black person, the assumption is either you've lied on your CV, or the assumption is that the grades that you said you got, you didn't really get. Right. So they think, well, even if they don't ask you to verify your grades, they believe that they're building in, this is their bias already. They believe that they're building in your, let's say, what's the word? I can't think of the word in English at the moment. Your handicap, that's what I'm looking for. Your handicap.
Deficiency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I meant it in a golf sense. So that they're building it, that they're building it in to basically say, well, on paper, she is a £10 an hour person, but her qualifications probably aren't true. Her work experience isn't true. So you know what? She probably only deserves £7. And the reality is, give her a couple of years, she'll be grateful for £10, because you know something, no one's going to give her more anyway.
And that's where you've hit the nail on the head, Leanne. That's the thing. Again, talking about my own experiences, the times that I have been well overdue for a pay rise, I'm sure I would have earned more picking cotton, quite frankly, right? By the time,
word.
by the time, when I was well overdue for a pay rise, I've had a CEO, not into, I mean, I can read between the lines, pretty much say to me, as a Black woman, Abby, you should be lucky to be sitting, to be where you are. Like, not in, I mean, without saying it like that, but it was kind of like, well, look at this girl coming to and asking me for a pay rise. Does she not know her place? Like, look at her, like coming to her office and asking for a pay rise.
Wait, and if you look around, they will also say, and you know what, because, I'm not being funny because, I don't believe this. I just want you to know that I don't believe this, but, it's not often that people like you get this position, Shereen. So now that you're in this position, right?
We don't have the budget, and that happened to me. I remember specifically coming to end of year, and we don't have the budget. We haven't had a profitable year, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I talked to one of my friends. It's not the same job, but it wasn't in a revenue generating department, which is a different thing. What did he get base? 30% pay rise. What did he get bonus? 30% pay rise. What did I get increase? 5% both times.
You've got to go and fight. But the thing that I dislike the most with this is that the burden is on us to fight for equality of pay. But when we go to do that, psychologically, we are made to feel like we're ungrateful, that it's misplaced, that we're too ambitious, that we don't know.
Shereen, can you pull up Anthony's comment? Because I want to comment on that. That's a brilliant comment as a recruiter. Right. This is why a lot of Black people need to move jobs to get more money, which recruiters then say, why have you moved around so much? Now, as from someone from a recruiting background, as a talent acquisition person, this is true. The amount of times I've sat in interviews or with hiring managers where they've looked at a person, not just a Black person, I have to say, but people of color, and they're like, yeah, but they've hopped around a bit. I'm like, they've hopped around a bit because they weren't being paid their worth, and they were probably
also don't forget the culture. So don't forget the culture of the organization. So when you're offered money and you've got the the salary, particularly for me, very senior, you offer all the bells and whistles, right? You kid yourself into thinking that's going to be enough to make up for a culture that doesn't make you feel welcome. You kid yourself into thinking that, this culture, this company is going to be different. I've seen what they've put on the website. I've seen the Black and brown people on their careers website. I've seen that the CEO is committed publicly to X, Y, Z. They want to build inclusive cultures. And then we get in there, and then we are quickly reminded that we are the outlier. We are quickly reminded, and they might not be obvious in that. It's like the day-to-day chipping of the things. People talk over you in meetings. You're not invited. You're missed off email chains. You're 2 seconds behind everybody else, and you can't understand what's going on until somebody else goes, but did you not see that email? Like, isn't that your responsibility? Isn't that your remit? Isn't that your team? And you're going, but nobody's told me any of this. And then they make it out as if the problem is with you. And don't get me wrong, I always say this. I'm not saying as Black people, like, we're all universally perfect. That's not what I'm saying.
No, not at all. No, we're realists, Shereen. We are realists. We're not realists.
Exactly. From a principal perspective, and the other thing that I will say, just for people who think, because the rationale that goes into leveling pay is all about the level of influence you have. So how far is your span of control? How many people do you line manage? What budget do you hold? Who do you report into? How big are the decisions that you can make unilaterally versus how many decisions can you make without going to another person more senior? Do you own the strategy or do you not own the strategy? And depending on where you sit on the scale of all of these things, and then they go into, are you a specialist? Blah, blah, blah. Do you have additional qualifications? These are all the things. Is when I've done job pay evaluations, because that's what I've, in my old life, that's what I did. These are all the factors that you take into consideration. But yet when you present that and you still show that there's gaps between individual roles, forget the ethnicity piece for a minute, just anybody, there's less of a motivation to deal with that, unless it's the white man that complains. And next thing you know, he's gone into the CEO's office. 10 minutes later, he comes out and I'm doing a letter giving him a £55,000 pay rise. And I'm thinking, what the hell's happened here? And then everybody else who doesn't complain, we're just expected to grin and bear it. And then when you go, okay, are we going to address everybody else, and particularly these people over here? What's the answer? There's no budget.
Right. Shereen, can you just put up this one? I can't see who it is, but it just says LinkedIn News at 3:27, because I wanted to say, I said something about it last week, which was they were told not to discuss their pay with other people. That is confidential. And that is one of the biggest power plays within all these corporations. They never want Black people to know what other people are getting paid, because they never want us to know what the real disparity is between what other people are getting paid. I mean, I still know of people being hired after me. Yeah. Hired after me and in some total getting paid more than me. And it's exactly that point that I heard. It's confidential and it's that secrecy. Oh no, don't talk about it because it's uncouth. People who talk about money are just low class people.
Grubbing,
right,
they are money hungry, they
correct.
are,
it's a system that's put in there to make us fall in line. That's all it is.
Correct. No, but I mean, this is just generally, but they especially don't like it when when you go and say, but hold on, I know that such and such way. Well, why are you talking about that? That's not something that should be disclosed.
Can I just go back? Thank you, Matthew. Hi. I think it's a bit of both. So I think the fundamental thing with this is forget anybody. This is where we then talk about the capitalist system, basically.
Yeah.
It's all about margins, right? So fundamentally, you want to try and make sure that you keep your base costs as low as possible. So the starting point with everything is not always about parity. It's about what can you get away with as paying as a business before you tip the edge of the other side. So that's a lot of businesses, that's their starting point, because it's all about, profit, etc. But when you start getting into, when you're able to pick and choose salaries according to who the head of department is, who the director is, who smiled nicely at the CEO, do you know what I mean? Who stayed at work till 9 o'clock at night so they get, extra pay because, the mom who's got 2 kids and she's got to leave at 5 o'clock, they say, well, she's not committed enough, or the dad that's not following responsibilities, he's not committed enough because he wants to work from home on a Friday and I don't know what he's doing, so therefore he only gets 2.5% pay rise, but somebody over here gets 35% pay rise. That's where the cultural and the leadership elements come into play with this, because if you've got people standing up and going, we have to as a business agree to fair pay principles, then all of that recklessness, cowboy in terms of giving people, it's like Oprah Winfrey, you get a £5. You get £1,000.
Everybody gets it.
You get a bottle of wine and well done for your contributions. That's what you get,
Can I just go back to the a term that I use, I think, in one of our sessions of misogynoir, and how that plays a part. Now, I want to talk about intersecting justice. So Black women, obviously, I'm talking about Black women in particular. Black women are at the intersection of racism and sexism.
Yeah.
And
with the patriarchal society we're dealing with, so all dominated by men, then women.
We've got the double bind, as they call it in unconscious bias, isn't it?
And I was reading about wealth gaps before this, before our call today, and in 2013, the median white household had 13 times the wealth of a median Black household. That is insane.
But Abby, look at the stats on the pay gap itself. Look that the average white pay in the space of 3 years has increased more than the rate of inflation generally. But it's gone up by 5%. In the space of 3 years, the Black average wage for an hour has gone up by 10 pence. Not even pounds, pence.
That's bad.
So
I just want to highlight this from Dr. Joseph Nwai. Hi, Dr. Joseph. Sorry, Abby, I've completely come we've got to respect Dr. Joseph. But this is the thing, and that's the bit that kills me the most, is the fact that we have so many people who have invested in their education. And I'm not saying university degree is the be all and end all, but what I'm saying is knowledge is power and education is an extension of that. So when, as people, we are investing in that, we still do not get the recognition, but also it's almost like that doesn't matter. Just like, no, you're brushing all of that to one side, you know what I mean? But yet somebody can come in with some 2-minute you know, online training course with a little home printed certificate, and all of a sudden they're the best thing since sliced bread. Do you know what I mean?
Shereen, I don't know about it in the UK. I actually don't know the stats in all honesty. But in America, and obviously speaking about myself, you, Shereen, Leanne, us three, plus the black women in America. Black women in America are the most educated in the whole.
We are the top.
As in, even between us and the next, is we've got on that plinth to get the gold medal. We are Usain Bolt in ahead of it, you know, and it just goes to show again. We've got, yes, it is a form of, you know, the backgrounds that we've all come from, because education, that's what our parents and the generational thing, they know that's the way we can get ahead in society, because they didn't get ahead, you know what I mean? So we're trying to do better than the generations beforehand. However, when you go through being an academic myself and all the things that I've had to, the hoops that I knew that I would have to jump through just to be, I'm not even seen as equal as my white peers, but I again, this is not me bragging, of everywhere I've worked in the 13 years that I graduated from Queen Mary, everywhere I've worked, there has been not one white woman who was better educated than me. I was the most educated black woman in every organization I have ever worked in. If I'm half the time, I'm the only black woman, but you know what I mean.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I hear you. You're the only one.
Are you sure? But Abby, are you sure? But really, are you sure? Are you sure that's what you did? Are you sure those are your qualifications? Really? Did you really go to that university?
You know, could we have the copies? Who in this day and age asks for copies of your certificates? But why is it when people see my rundown, blah, 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 they go, oh yeah, that's good. So, you know, we're part of our policy. You know, it's a bit like, so we need your passport to verify, but we also need a copy of your certificates. And then when I get into the business and I'm talking to somebody else who is my peer, pay grade, we run the same level as departments, and I'm asking them, did you have to provide the same? And they're going like, what are you talking about? I don't even know. Do you remember Record of Achievement in one of a certain age in the UK?
Yeah, I saw mine the other day, actually, randomly enough.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? What? You know, and it's like this big thick book, and it's only got like 2 certificates in it. Do you know what I mean? And like some drawing, and then, you know, like when you did your first CV and you put like, I'm an enthusiastic netball player, like.
hey, Duke of Edinburgh Bronze Award, people.
Do you know what I mean? And then they're literally going, but I don't even know like where I would find it. But you know what? Mine are right here in my office. I've got I've got a folder with all beautiful. It's ready. It is ready.
Everything.
But look at, why do I have to keep it?
Yeah.
Why do I have to keep it? Right. I want to just talk about whether pay bands, because I think it was Matthew who said something here, who's military.
It was, yeah.
Matthew, I feel like I'm picked, but you're saying such good stuff. So we're going to talk about this afterwards. Do pay bands, because some people have said to me as a refuting this point about the fact that, well, particularly in the civil service and public sector, you've got pay bands. So therefore, all the jobs are graded according to the pay bands. So anybody who's public sector might just want to drop some opinions on that, because we'll share that. But in the meantime, I don't even know what tune, so I'm going to play.
Look at your smirk.
No. Some people will not know this tune, but all you need to know is the bass on this is bad. That's all you need to know, because like this is one of my tunes. And Fantasia is my woman. That's all I'm going to say. So like,
we know.
I live for Fantasia.
We just got to do the lip quiver, Abby. No singing, just.
The bass. Do you remember this tune?
I tune. Yeah.
Fake shit will kill you. Boy, I know the real you. Fake shit will kill you. Boy, I know the real you. Fake shit will kill you. Boy, I know the real you. Fake shit will kill you. Boy, I know the real you.
Don't make me exposure for exactly what you are.
Yes, Abby.
Feeling wavy. So right now I don't mind pulling your heart.
Oh, look, some people know this tune. Yes. This is a tune. Oh my God, this is a tune.
But what would you be without me? What would you be? you be without me? So what you doing now? Just a little, you know you alone. Get a finger in the mail. Just let me you without me.
Oh my God, that's such a tune. Is that not a tune? It's a big tune.
Big tune. Big
It's a
tune.
Big
It's a big
tune.
tune. Oh, and Marie's like, I don't know this song, but I'm feeling, listen, because when you play it and the bass kicks in, it just like takes over your whole soul.
But you feel rude as well. You feel like you want to go just get into it with somebody. Like, really,
You know what I
what
mean?
would
It's just
you be
like,
without me?
Where would you be?
No, but where would you be without me, though? Where would you be without me? You'd have
Well,
no good
railways.
talent in your bloody company. You'd have no good policies. You'd be hiring the same dry biscuit people that into the organization.
But hold on, Abby, where would you be without me? Well, this country wouldn't have railways. They wouldn't have nurses.
Because, you know, like everyone realised the filament was invented.
Where would you be without me? This country would be on its knees without the black and people of color on the NHS on the front line. This country would be on its knees if not for us. Yeah. Where would you be without me? Where would you be? Where would you be? The bank.
I feel like Shereen's got some like subliminal messaging going on today. First of all, can we talk? Where would you be without me? I don't know what's going on.
They need to know.
No, I mean, somebody's going to be going like, I don't know what these girls are talking about, but now all of a sudden they're taking credit for everything. Like, I don't even. They don't know what level of action.
My thing is, so Adamson, if you don't know, Adamson's a slave name, so my surname's a slave name. So my thing is, yeah, I am taking credit for everything because somewhere along the way, my ancestors flipping bled and died for this nonsense.
Right.
Only we could make slavery hilarious. I don't even.
Sometimes you just have to, Leanne. But it's such a heavy subject. And sometimes you've got to throw some.
You have to laugh about it because when you really look at it, you just think to yourself, how can it be that we're in 2020, we're sitting there as women, we're sitting there as black women, and we're still having to justify when the proof is there, the proof in our reviews, the proof in the standard of work, the proof in the revenue, the proof in the deals you close. All those things are proving that we are more than capable, yet there is no budget for our promotion. There is no budget for our pay rise, our bonuses, but there is a budget for a piss up for a group of guys.
You said it.
And I think one of the things that I want to say about this is, irrespective of whether or not you're like pro-black, you're pro-LGBTQ, you're pro-X, fundamentally, it goes back to, we are talking about fairness. And I always feel the need to keep reminding people about this because it feels like with the hysteria and the hype about black people and, you know, why can't you be quiet and you know, all of this stuff, they forget that the fundamentals of what we're talking about is fairness. Yeah. It's about equity, right?
About equity.
And it's about equality. And we're not saying, you know, well, I'm not, like, I can't speak for everybody, but, you know, for me, I'm saying these principles of fairness, of equity, of, you know, true inclusion within organizations should be applicable for every single person. Do you know what I mean? I am not ring fencing black people over here and saying only we deserve this. I'm saying everybody deserves it, but guess what? When everyone is talking about everybody, they ain't talking about us. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're not talking about us. So if we do not put a lens on us, if we do not start bringing black people, not BAME, not black and brown, because I still have people coming to me like, is it legal to look for a black intern? Is it legal to only look for a black person? Is it legal? Well, guess what? It's legal to have a £3.2 billion pay gap between black people and white people. So come and talk to me about that rather than my little intern.
In the Phoenix. But you're so right. But you're so right.
Shereen said, do not slide up in my DMs with your madness.
I love the way she typed all of this in.
Talking to you guys on a private chat, I forgot I was like, because I'm just thinking, why are you coming to me?
But Shereen, I just love how you had this real point, everything's going, and then all of a sudden you just drag yourself into it. And you know something? I'm just sent to myself on this point. Don't come for me, people. sort out your 3.2 billion. No, it's absolutely correct, though. It's the point of
back. Who in which company, which comp and bend person, which reward manager, which head of HR, which chief people officer in organizations today is going, do you know what? Let's use this Black Lives Matter issue as an opportunity to correct all of the wrongs that we know are systemically wrong within our business. Yeah. Who is saying that? Who is saying
no
that?
one. But the problem is that we ourselves are having to say that our lives matter. That's the problem. They still aren't convinced. You know, they can tell you that if there's cognitive diversity in a company, it improves the bottom line. They can tell you that if there is gender diversity, it can improve the bottom line. They can tell you that if there's ethnic diversity, it can improve the bottom line. But why don't they want to pay everybody accordingly then? Why don't you
make so much money?
Right.
You know, and even like I remember talking to my partner about this, and he was like, so what you just saying, like, are you going all like socialist? I'm like, no, that's not. The point is, because you know, like some people have to say, he tries to be extreme. He's just as extra as I am, but on the other scale. And I'm just like, you know, I'm just like, really. But the point is, that's the thing, you can't pick and choose, right? No. Historically, people have been picking and choosing. They've been talking about inclusion. They've been talking about diversity. They've been talking about equity, except Black people.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I know it's an except Black people, because when we start putting the lens back on Black people, and all we're doing is putting the lens back on Black people, like businesses were putting the lens on women. Nobody was sliding into my DMs when I was talking about women's empowerment workshops, when I'm talking about reducing. Nobody is sliding into the 30% club woman, you know, who did that whole 30% for the board thing.
Yes.
Nobody sliding into her DMs and go, is that legal? I mean, because it just makes me feel very uncomfortable. But the second you start talking about Black people, everyone all of a sudden wants to know, like, have you got legal advice? Have you done? What's your rationale for hiring only Black? What's your rationale for having a Black stream?
And I'll say it again, it's because plenty people are anti-Black, man. They're just anti-Black, and that's I'm just fed up because we keep going round and round in circles. It's like it's just very, very annoying. And also, I want to talk about occupational segregation, right? Mm-hmm. Occupational segregation in the sense that a lot of, I was thinking, you know, Black women and of women of ethnic minorities are more likely to work in lower paid service occupations, right? So your cleaners, domestic work, you know, your healthcare assistants. So sometimes I feel like when we are not in that bracket and we are in a you know, C-suite level, or we are, you know, head of talent acquisition or global head of HR, or, you know what I mean, you know, asset management or whatever it is, people don't know how to handle us because it's because of that occupational, you know, segregation. Where the hell did you guys all come from? How did you make it on our level? How did you get here? How did you get here?
Did you lie? Did you steal? Did you borrow? But you didn't earn it.
Who did you hold at gunpoint? Whose child did you kidnap?
Right.
See how we all had to pause. Like
because
just to go. Oh, sorry. No, I was just saying, just to also go back to your point, Shereen, about focusing on the Black people in this particular instance. Looking at this data that PwC produced, and I read an article on raconteur.net. When you look at how everything started, at the very top are Chinese people getting paid the most. Then it goes like Chinese, white, Indian, or Southeast Asian, let's say. Then white, non-British, blah, 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 blah. Then Black, right down here. And my point is, if BAME is such a real thing, where are my Chinese brothers and sisters to pull me up? If BAME is such a real thing, where is everybody else trying to make sure that the B in BAME is also earning enough? Because if you're going to use a Chinese person as the proof that the ethnicity pay gap isn't really alive, well, they're getting paid £14 an hour, and Black people are getting paid $10.92.
Right.
So
but also just as a side point, but again, this goes back to the ridiculousness of where we are right now in 2020, talking about race as a thing. Is that if you're from China, you're Chinese. So they talk about the Chinese by definition of the country.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go white. Okay, so you can have like white Chinese people and Black Chinese people, because like I know Black Chinese people. Then you go Black. Then you go. That's the ridiculousness of what we're in, because it goes back to the picking and the choosing.
Yep. And it goes back to Abby's thought about dominant culture, naming us to be able to put us into categories to make it pasta Pumpkin.
Oh my God, Pastor Pumpkin! No, you did not. He's done it again. He's done it again.
You know what I want to know? You know what? Every week people are going to be thinking like, what's James to them? Is he like their fourth co-host? James is our fourth co-host, right?
Listen, James is the the Charlie, and we're the angels. I don't know, but James is something because PP is just killing us.
Why
do I feel like his face needs to be on here some way just to be dropping these little time bombs?
We just, that is the point. So when picking and choosing, and therefore you can pick and choose with pay, because you know what, paying somebody £10.55 an hour when they're on the front line, when they're, cleaners, receptionists, or whatever else it is one thing.
Exactly.
When you start to want to have to pay them according to the senior ranks of everybody else, that becomes problematic.
Exactly.
And even when they do bring those Black people or brown people into the C-suite, I bet you bottom dollar they ain't paid according to their C-suite besties. They won't be. They will not be, because what they will do is they will use the prestige and the job title in lieu of money to go, you will be grateful for being here. We're going to pluck you out of obscurity and put you here on our board. And therefore they don't have to worry so much about making sure you're paid the same. Who was it? This lovely lady here who said, here we go. Thank you, Lucy. Oh, I love Lucy. Hi, thank you. She's always here every week. Thank you, darling. This is a really good point. Buffett, if companies want to do something different about this, so what I said to somebody the other day, if you don't want to hear me complain every day, if you don't want to hear us complain every day, start fixing your systems and your policies. Yeah. Things like stop all of this trying to keep a lid on what's not good, and acknowledge what's not good and just get on and bloody fix it. Nobody's expecting you to fix it overnight. Nobody is expecting you to have just pluck like 2 million out of thin air to go and address the inequities within your business. But you've got to start from somewhere, because otherwise we keep having this same conversation. It's the same conversation we had about gender pay. It'll be the same conversation about something else. So at some point you've got to make a stand as a business and as a leadership team, because businesses are not sentient beings, and go, we can't perpetuate societal problems within our business anymore.
Right.
We can't do that. That's what you're doing. And every time you don't do something, you're giving more weight to the problem. You're compounding the problem and making it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And at some point, your morals must have to come into play here, when you go, I don't want to be contributing to society in that way by fostering those inequalities. So what is it that we have to do differently? Because they already know the answer. The tools are already out there. The answer's already out there. We are not aliens. It doesn't take alien technology to go and fix this issue about parity and equality. It doesn't.
No, and just to your point as well, this PwC report was hilarious, because they said 95% of the companies that they interviewed aren't doing it. But more interestingly, 75% of the companies that they interviewed said the reason was they didn't have enough information to do their ethnicity pay gap reporting, which we all know is baloney. It's like, you invest in different things. You choose not to invest in this, because we all know, as we said before, systems are there. I'm not an expert at HR systems, but I know fundamentally how loads of systems work. When we want to capture data, you put a box and they have everything. Now, whether it's an Excel sheet, spreadsheet or not, your people. So to say you don't have access to the data is just a lazy way. And this is what loads of companies are trying to...
You do have access to the data, because you didn't tell you what you do. You run the payroll. You run... Listen, this is what I have to say to people. I'm not freshly squeezed, right?
Right.
I'll give you data. Run the payroll.
Exactly.
The payroll,
exactly.
Right? On the payroll. And let me just say, so just quickly, There's I think Sally is still here. Hi, Sally. Just say hello if you're still here, right? So literally, before I came on live, I was talking to Sally and getting changed at the same time. So she's been like in my basement, she's been in the kitchen, then we went into the bathroom, carried on talking. I wasn't doing anything in the bathroom, I was doing my hair. But we were talking, and she was telling, she's not gonna mind me telling this story because I'm not naming anybody, but you know, when she was trying to talk to, not about pay gap, but just about this whole black thing, and the HR person was like, we're too busy focusing on investors in people to focus on doing anything for Black Lives Matter.
Shereen, can you put that comment up from India?
We're afterwards? Too busy. What's up?
I said, after you say that, I said afterwards, can you put the comment up from India?
Oh, hey, India.
Hi, India.
Hello.
I have to say, like, I follow all of India's posts, so
I love India.
I always get a little fangirl when I see people that, you know, I follow their stuff and I like their stuff.
I love it. I've got so much love for India. So much love.
Me too. I'm fangirling a little bit. I was like, yes.
Yeah, we all like, I was like, oh, yeah. But no, it's about it, exactly. It's exactly because, and again, we have to move past this whole behavioral thing about just not admitting when we've fucked up, like, and just go, listen, like, we fixed it. Nobody's expecting perfection, you know, when nobody's but equally, if you want to spend more time
we're not expecting perfection, but we are expecting transparency.
Yes, that's my point.
Right, and we're expecting
this is the problem. This is the problem, and this is what we want to do differently. This is what we're going to do. Because let me tell you, they're spending a lot of time and energy right now talking about what they don't want to do around Black Lives Matter, about racial equality. They're spending a lot of time talking about the budget they don't have. They're spending a lot of time talking about how the fact that what are they going to do when they've got dissent in the ranks, because there are Black people within organizations who have not done anything, and now the Black people are really not happy because they're going, how much longer do you need? Well, you've had 2.5 months to get your proverbial together. How much longer does it need? So they're dealing with all of this stuff. The amount of energy that you're putting into that versus just going, do you know what? This is what it is, the transparency. This is what we've got to sort out. This is why our numbers are not good. This is what the data looks like. I don't get it.
Yeah. But you know what? I think these companies don't ever really want to admit that they were ever wrong. They don't want to admit that they fostered a culture that has literally systematically and systemically broken down Black people to a point that they feel worthless.
Leanne,
they don't want to.
Right. So listen, let me carry on because I just want to put up.
No, Leanne, you're right. But also, they also don't want to admit that they don't want to change.
Yes.
That was my next point. They don't want to rectify it, Abby.
Hi, Taslim. Like, Taslim's killing it with the comments today, but. Right, can we talk about this? It's 2:57, right? Okay. So I'm giving us about 12 minutes. Yeah, because it's really hot and like this
is a big one, and it's like the reason why I mean, again, I'm speaking for myself, but I think actually for Shereen and Leanne as well. And actually maybe even for you, Taslim, is that the reason why we have imposter syndrome in this respect is because we've been told we're not worth it. It's because we've watched and we've looked left, right, and center and seen people. We're talking about merit. We're talking about giving people promotions and pay rises on merit. We are not asking to be treated better than. We're asking to be treated as equals. And when you see that your fellow colleagues who happen to be white or fairer than you or whatever, and they are promoted for doing bad. I have seen it, and in working in HR and talent acquisition with my own 2 eyes, I have seen hiring managers promote and give pay rises to people. Not only do they have bad behavior, so culture-wise, they're just absolutely toxic for the company, but also performance management-wise, they're not good at their jobs. And I have seen them overlook Black colleagues. And as a Black person, you don't want to, well, now I do, but back in the day, before we were all, had the power to speak up, I would have to shrink into a corner because I couldn't say nothing, because it'd be like, well, yeah, but I couldn't argue the case. But why are you overlooking, if not for the fact that it comes from a point of discrimination, of prejudice, and of bias? Bias is a baby or product of racism, you know,
Racism.
and yes, it is. It absolutely is, and that's what I've seen. So it's not a these are three women getting together to talk about things. These are real things that happen that I have seen. People get pay rises after working their asses off. Not only that, after bringing in money into the company, because you know you work in some organizations where you know you bring in a good turnover, you bring in a new client, and you know all of a sudden the pay structure has changed, or your incentives have changed, or your bonus structure has changed. But it has, you know, how they keep changing the goalposts. They keep moving the goalposts so that we don't ever achieve it. And even if, of course, no, we actually do achieve it. But then
We jump over it.
we go over it.
Exactly.
Exactly, we overachieve it, and we're still overlooked. And I think back to the self-worth thing. Of course, naturally, as humans, you start having you know, you start doubting yourself. You start you've been gaslighted, and then you start thinking about, God, am I not worthy of this? Of course, we're worthy of it. I just said we've overexceeded expectations.
But I think also, Abby, I think a lot of I'd say an effect or what you see, the reason why Black women are so massively and overqualified is that constant validation. I am good enough, but you know something? No one trusts that I'm good enough. So let me get an extra qualification to show just how good I am. So it's not a coincidence that we are the most qualified people out here. It's because every single time we've been told we're not good enough, we come back and we say, look at those letters after my name. And you keep doing it. But the problem is at a certain point, you do feel like, well, I'm delivering, I've got all the stuff, everything's good on paper, and it's still not enough. And you think to yourself, well, what am I going to do? And I think that is another reason why a lot of Black women also choose to work for themselves, because they don't get the right credit for what they've been doing. They know
because you're looking me down right about now. I need one little piece of tune, please. Lord have mercy.
Okay, sorry.
I feel like listen, she's looking the real truth, right? Is looking me down so much. I'm like this. Look.
I'm sorry. Because you know I get vexed, and then when I get vexed, I have to. It just comes out.
No uptown New York City bitch. Some Spanish girls love me like a mama Buddha. Tell Uncle Luke I'm out Miami too. Clubbing hard, fucking women, they ain't much to do.
Sorry for the bad language.
This game still getting brain on the thing, ain't shit changed. How you feel? How you feel? How you feel? 25 sitting on 25 mil. I'm in the building and I'm feeling myself. Rest in peace, Mac Dre. I'ma do it for the day, okay? Getting paid, we'll holler whenever that stop. My team good, we don't really need a mascot. Tell tune like one, pass it like a relay. YMCMB, you niggas more YMCA. Me, Franny, and Molly Marr, let it dribble. Shot goes out to Nico, J, and Shug, shot to Gibbo. We got set and Margarita by the leader. She don't even if I'm fucking with her, I don't really need her. That's how you feel, man, that's really how you feel. Cause the pimpin' nice cold, all these bitches wanna chill. I mean, maybe she wrong, and again, maybe she real. I can almost guarantee she know that they're a real nigga. What's up? Now she want a photo, you already know though. You only live once, that's the motto, nigga, yellow. And we got it every day, every day, every day. Hey, we sitting on the bench, nigga, we don't really play. Every day, fuck what anybody say. Can't see it, put the money in the way. Real nigga, what's up? One time, fuck one time.
Can I just say, before anybody comes for me, I forgot how much swearing and N-words is in
Listen, I didn't even mouth that because my mum will lick me down.
I didn't. No, I didn't mouth it. You know,
I might have.
I was thinking, wasn't that the radio edit version? It's still a tune. It is still a tune.
Every day.
Who said, I don't know what link, which LinkedIn you said thug love.
I don't know.
Who is this?
I don't know.
Whoever is a thug love, please out yourself.
Listen, but you know, sometimes that's how you feel. Like you just got to bring it. Like if I really wanted to, I would love to be playing some Rick Ross tunes, but
you cannot play Rick Ross. He's too much.
That is like a limit. That is like a limit.
You would have to say X-rated and maybe put it on after midnight or something. That's
like 2 o'clock in the morning, like drive time.
Exactly.
Well, you know what? One just so you know, because we will finish in a couple of minutes. I've got one bad tune to play us out there. Oh my God, I've got one bad tune to play us out with. But what I just wanted to say on the self-worth thing is, you know, because I've been quite honest about this and sharing my like journey, I guess, in this is recognizing that we have to decolonize our own minds with this as Black people. Because
I think it's important that just because they put us there, we remember not to stay there.
that's what I'm trying to say. But also the other thing is, don't forget though, that these same systems that are built to keep us here also stop us from pushing too hard to get out of those same pages. Do you understand? That's what they're put there to do. And it's just inherited. Even if people don't realize that that's what they're consciously doing, you know, like give everybody a lie, but they might not aware that that's what they're consciously doing, but that's what they are. So we can either wait for, like Lucek was saying, you know, with the buffers of the world to show the salaries and they go and do, or we go, do you know what? As part and parcel of addressing, you know, systemic racial inequalities within our business, here are our list of demands. So if you're part of an employee forum network, if you're part of, you know, a HR team, an L&D team, any team, and you've got a group of you who are committed to doing this, this is the time to now say, do you know what? We're going to add this to the list. Don't miss the pay gap out of this. You know, there might be some other things. You might be some things you want to address with hiring practices, with promotions, transparency around promotions, transparency around who gets the glamour projects, you know, who gets the opportunity to go and, you know, I don't know, play golf with the CEO because of recognition, you know, all of that stuff. You know, all of that. But pay is one of the most fundamental things, because it's not just about your pay as a Black person. This is about us as a community being able to go, if you multiply how many times, if companies retrospectively corrected all Black people's pay that was unequally paid, imagine the difference that that starts to make to our position in society. But we can't wait for everybody universally to get the memo. So we got to start with the small steps and go, do you know what battle can I fight? And am I willing to fight knowing that I'm going to be pushing against the very things that I don't want to push up against, because I've been taught my whole life to just stay quiet, be grateful, take my paycheck and go home. Do you know what I mean?
And we've also been absolutely conditioned that outside of the construct that we have, that we can't make money, meaning we have never really been taught that we can look to the Black community. We can nourish ourselves, but we've never looked at it.
Leanne, this is the whole reason why Black Pound Day came into effect. Do you guys know about it? Black Pound Day.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason why it came. That's the whole reason why it was built. Where we're like, do you know how much money we put into the economy? Do you know how wealthy we keep brands?
Yeah, but you know what though? My thing is with the, just because this could be like a whole other something. My thing about the Black Pound Day is that we don't. Our problem as Black people is we don't universally get on that bandwagon.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
so like,
I do.
A few people will go absolutely, and we'll do it for a day. Do you know what I mean? So we'll buy the 2 things that we were going to buy from Amazon. We'll spend the effort and we'll go and buy it from somebody Black. And then the day after, there's me like buying out my external hard drive for the 10th time for my videos off Amazon, because I can't even be bothered to look for somebody.
It's true, you know.
You know what I'm saying? So even with those,
when we're talking about you're right. When you're talking about capitalism, we need to look to ourselves.
Yeah, and it's also, you know, Abs, you and I had a conversation about this when I said that in Britain, for example, in America, you can have a Black-owned bank. This we can't have that in the UK. There is not. They don't want to facilitate that, and this is what people also need to understand about the depths of the colonial influence. Yes, everyone needs to remember
that is what you are talking about. That is an example of structural racism, whereby and remember the whole point of capitalism is try to be like the free market. So providing you can provide a service and
right.
The whole point. Even as Black people, we are pushed out of that for lots of different reasons. Capital that you got to put on the table, you know, whether it's the university you got to be able to, there's so many things. Have you had practice doing this before? Who's your guarantor if you do not have the money? Who can you use as a guarantor that if the millions go? All of those things structurally are set up, which means we are always kept out of being able to create for ourselves anyway. But that doesn't stop us from trying. Because I'm not, before somebody goes, oh my gosh, Shereen, no. You just got to get creative, but also bandy together with people who are trying to do this, rather than all of us always thinking that we got to set up our own shit. Do you know what I mean? There is more power. If 10 of you have got an idea, just go for the one person who's already doing something, and that's 10, and then that's 10, and that's the bit of the mindset stuff that we've got to do a lot of work with ourselves, if I'm really honest. I forget everybody else. Do you know what I mean?
We've got
to do there.
and that we have to really realize that we do have a lot of power. As you said last week, Shereen, we're not a minority in not being able to affect change. We can do it, but we have to also be prepared.
We have to be ready to do the work. Right,
to have the work and to have the conversations and understand that the pushback is going to come. They're not going to say, hey, yeah, we're going to roll over, give it to you. That you have to push back, and you have to be sure, and you need to know what you're saying.
Yeah, because that's it.
This is true. Access to finance is difficult when you're Black. Another means of oppression. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I can't remember the stat off the top of my head, but there's a big stat of how likely a Black person is to be denied a mortgage or denied a loan, a car loan, or whatever it might be. Massive difference.
But it's also, I was reading an article only yesterday in the US that, you know, if you're Black and you want to rent, or it's not even just about buying, it's about having a place to live and being educated, for example, it's still difficult. So all the things that are basic requirements for life quality, we have to jump over hurdles. Or it might be, okay, I'm going to rent this place to you, but because you're Black, instead of needing to provide a £1,000 deposit, we need 5,000 from you as surety.
And even before I close this out in a minute, so we've got like 2 minutes and then I'm going to close this out. But
okay, sorry.
Things like, even if you've got the money, particularly here in the UK, there are some, you can't even go and rent an apartment in the nice places of London, because, you know, we're with the exception of Leanne, who's in Munich, which the prices are crazy. But even if you've got money, the second the landlord or landlady clocks that you're Black, even if your money is the same money, they do not want to rent to you, right? So again,
or they spike it up to make it.
They don't. Sometimes they don't even bother with that. They just do not want Black people in their, in their properties, or they make you demonstrate that you've got X amount in the bank, which is not even legal to be able to do. But I know some people have had to provide that. And, you know, and the landlord has gone, I know I'm not supposed to ask this, but if you really want to move into this apartment, I just need to see that you've got money in the bank to be able to pay should you lose your job or whatever else it is. And like idiots, that's what we do. Do you know what I mean?
And it's because sometimes
it's a heavy topic, this one. It's very heavy. Very, very heavy.
Because as the pay gap affects us, you know, as you said, Shereen, it's not just about money, it's about how it affects our standing and our ability to function in society. They've already proven that, you know, the top tech people, the Bill Gateses of the world, all of these people come from wealthy households. And when you have money behind you, it frees your brain to focus on creativity.
Yeah. I'm just going to say this one thing, because this is a whole other subject, this, Amri. Okay, so we can talk about Trump, but guess what? We can also talk about the gentrification of a lot of places in London.
Shereen, no, not this week. Not this week. No,
not this week.
We should have started with this, Shereen. Look at me, I've got the shakes now.
No, but Abby, listen, I've got info.
Let me say my point, right? This is another thing. We always think that all of these bad practices are happening in the US, and we forget, particularly those of us who are on outside of London. I'm in Kent, Abby's in London. Listen, there are parts of London that were historically Black, brown, basically anybody.
How can they want? Sorry, Shereen. Sorry. How can they want to change the name of Brixton? There's a petition to change the name of Brixton to South. No, is it what Clapham doesn't exist? Whichever. Is it East Clapham? Is there an East Clapham?
No.
They want to change. That's what they want to change the name of Brixton to. They want to change the name of Brixton. They wanted to change the name of Hackney and Shoreditch as well.
Do you remember Dalston? Look at Hoxton. Look at all of these. And what people don't realise is they they knocked down some old buildings, pushed out the Black people, the brown people, you know, anybody shade who wasn't white, pushed them out, redid up those areas and made it really expensive to live. And if you go into Brixton now versus what Brixton used to look like back in the days, Notting Hill, thank you, Emery, versus what it used to look like in the days, tell me now that the gentrification of it all, which is a nice way of saying it, they whitewashed a whole part of London. And they're doing it pocket by pockets. And what they're doing is they're pushing people into council houses.
Can we do an episode on gentrification? Sorry, because
okay, let's come September because we got 1 week last week.
Yeah, let's do one because I'm beginning my blood. I can feel my temperature.
Sorry.
Just one thing, and it's to say, I look on Instagram, obviously, and I'm not in the UK anymore. And imagine my surprise when I found a woman who works at the Connaught Hotel, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I live in Peckham." And I was like,
"Welcome to the next one."
For me,
Elephant Castle. Sorry, everyone's like,
so my family house is in Fulham, which is pretty much white. But right now, I live in Kennington, right near Elephant and Castle, the roundabout. And let me tell you all, and then I go to do my nails and get my hair shaved down towards Peckham. Let me tell you all, I have stories for everyone when we come on to gentrification.
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Barbara, it is ethnic cleansing. Do not get me started. Barbara.
Why are you winding up the people then, Barbara? Why are you winding up?
Don't wind me up at 3:15 on a Friday, Barbara. It's not good for my health. It's not good for my health.
Listen. Right, so we're going to close because, listen, I thought I was just throwing in my little point, didn't realise. We will do gentrification / ethnic cleansing in September. We've got 1 more week before I'm off for 2 weeks. So we're going to do, next Friday, we're doing culture appropriation. Oh my God, that is going to be a hot one. Lord have mercy. Make sure you have water, alcohol.
Tell your friends this is the one that they need to come. And this is also for Black people as well, because so Black people understand. A lot of Black people don't understand what it means. Oh, and people of color. So tell everybody to tune into that one.
And please, also, this is for Black people to understand what is and isn't acceptable. And please get your white best friend who thinks it's okay to be like, yes, girlfriend, please also get her on.
Tell everybody to tune into next week because this is the one that will, if you want to be an ally, that's the one you need to tune in.
And please make sure you bring your champagne. I will be bringing mine. It's the last Friday.
Bring your whiskey. Bring your everything. Bring your everything.
What did you say? Only Leanne. Of course, it's Bubble Friday.
Shout of respect.
Everlasting name, the original Nata. Take heed and take check. You get back to man along with the shy effects. And when we come, it's murderation. All original junglist. You kind of know. Can we not imitate? Originate the couple. All right, mate. Stop gassing me. What the people then blast? No mercy. They're everlasting. Watch them from the boy. Watch this. I'm
putting myself on mute because I can't mind.
No. Bad boys in London, boys in Iran, bad boys in Jamaica, boys in Kingston. Watch out, you never know the gangster. Me say them in a jungle.
Do you remember this tune? This tune's bad. This tune is mad. Come on, LinkedIn Live has never known this tune. They don't know this tune. This is one tune. I'm losing my mind. This tune is crazy.
I know.
This is a tune, oh my God.
I have to mute myself. I'm getting too excited.
Jungle is massive. If you don't know about jungle tunes, oh my God.
Man, big
Yes, oh my God, the tune is mad.
I don't even know how Abby's just keeping it so low key. She's like, yeah, girls.
Listen,
I think the gentrification got her shook.
look, you can see me.
No, Shereen, I don't know why Shereen had to drop gentrification towards the end. And she knows that I'm a delicate person and I need to be handled with care. You know that's gonna get me triggered. Shereen, you did that on purpose.
It's like I'd be sitting there in her feelings.
I almost dropped
Not
on the floor when I heard gentrification. and then Barbara had to try and kill me by dropping ethnic cleansing. You guys know
she couldn't even enjoy it. She couldn't even. Abby started off like this, and then all of a sudden she started wilting like a flower in the sun. Like no.
Oh my God, no, don't do those things to me because you know how get me triggered.
I love you all. Oh my God.
The tune is fire, but I'm too hot to be jumping up and down like a fool.
Listen, if you could hear the bass in my basement, you'd be, as James keeps saying, bass in the basement, like crazy. Everything's like jittering like this.
Aye.
Right, listen, I've got a video call at 3:30, so I gotta go.
Listen, I've got things to do.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, everybody.
I think it went crazy. They're like, I just tuned in. What is this song that's being played? Jungle is something.
Jungle is massive.
Original mad, not up. Original
What I love is Leo knows tune, Leo. Yes, this is a tune.
Leo.
Oh God. Happy Friday, everyone. Have a great weekend.
See you later.
Bye all.
Bye.